I'm Mark Thomas and I'm on a beach. Look how cinematic that looks.
Clean call, right?
The ice is melting, animals are dying, and everything's heating up. What I, discount Louis Theroux, would like to know is, what's being done about it? SMA, whatever it's called.
ASMR.
ASMR. What does that stand for? Is it a Japanese thing? I'm Mark. I'm a third year student. I'm studying education studies. Is that it? Is that what we needed? Is that who I am?
Is that who you are, Mark?
Yeah. Is it not? A lot of attention at the moment has been on climate activism.
What is worth more, art or life?
There's been a lot of disruption going on from a group who are called Just Stop Oil. But who are Just Stop Oil?
What we're asking for is what all the scientists are asking for, what the United Nations are asking for.
Stop all new future oil licences. We have 8 years of oil and gas in remaining licences, the current licences. We're saying we use that to make a just transition to renewable energy.
I'm doing this for my son.
So from looking at the reactions of people on social media, people are very angry. But the anger is more focused at the action.
I've got to tell you, we were expecting to get some messages of support from our viewers for you. We haven't had one.
It's driving people mad on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter.
Shoot them down off the bridge. Just get them down.
People, for want of a better word, people hate them. Of course, we've all seen footage on the news of climate activists. There's a lot of names thrown about, they're crusty hippies.
You can walk by, but the climate crisis won't walk by you. It's coming for your families.
That's all I've seen, so that's the only opinion I can go with. I'd like to keep an open mind and inform my own opinion of what they're like.
But what do you actually think of them?
I head to a talk by local Greenpeace representative John Halliday to learn more about climate activism straight from the horse's mouth.
We're a campaigning, non-governmental organisation. We defend the natural world and promote peace. Our goal is to ensure the ability of the Earth to nurture life in all its diversity.
At the moment, there seems to be different activist groups. My understanding is that Greenpeace has been around for decades. They were in the news when I was a kid with their Rainbow Warrior ship sank. And there seems to be some new groups. Extinction Rebellion was one. They seem quite new. They seem to they're taking more extreme action.
So just describing the chain of events. So that's it, mild action to start with. We'll do petition work to start with. Let people sign petitions or letters. We took action against Volkswagen, for example, trying to persuade Volkswagen to change their ways. In short, and this is my phrase, we make such a nuisance of ourselves that they want to change, so that we'll just leave them the hell alone.
Nothing meaningful seems to be being done about the problem of climate change.
And the craziest thing, as the Arctic ice is melting, we are seeing oil companies, fishing companies, fossil fuel companies wanting to get into those waters to start drilling for more of the very stuff that is causing this problem in the first place.
I know there's a global agreement for net zero by 2050, I think it is. Net zero means reaching a balance between greenhouse gases being put into the atmosphere and those taken out. Not all countries have signed up for that. There's some saying 2050, some saying 2060.
That's my definition of insanity.
It's just a general agreement that people might do something when they like, if they can be bothered.
The implications are so severe of this kind of behaviour that you could call it genocide.
There doesn't seem to be any action taken at the top to change anything. There's no pathway out of this that we've all agreed on.
We've got to bite this bullet. Everything else is short-termism, and everybody, including the people promoting the short-termism, knows that. The fact remains it's humans what have done it.
It's going to worry any parent because you think of the future and you want it to be good for your kids, but the way things are going, the future's not looking bright.
I realised when I had children that their future was not going to be as comfortable or as luxurious as my life had been. And I think the two things that really drove me were guilt and fear. Guilt that I was part of the generation that had caused these massive problems, and fear, not so much for myself, because as I mentioned, I'm not that young. Fear for the younger people, the younger generation, my own children in particular. That prompted me to take action.
People are going to grumble, people are going to hate it, and I think every government is probably looking round at all the other governments and say who's going to go first. It's going to be a tremendous leap of faith, and I think the person who does it is probably going to become a hero.
So the opinions in this country on climate change, it's a bipartisan issue. It's agreed across the board that it is happening.
And the situation is ridiculous. We've had a stable climate on this planet, I think, for 50 million years, and humans have been around for 2 million years. And in the last 250 years, we fucked it over.
We know already the effects of climate change. Mass extinction, we're already living in the 6th mass extinction. The planet will survive. Life will still survive on the planet. We're not going to wipe life off the planet. We're probably not even going to wipe human life off the planet. But what we are going to do is change the world that we have known. So it's the end of that cosy world that we have known, that world of plenty, that world of being able to travel wherever we like, which of course has only been available for a very small percentage of people, for a very small percentage of the time we've been on the planet. So what I mean by the end of the world is that everything that you and I take for granted is going to be turned upside down. And some of it has to be turned upside down in order to ensure the survival of most of the things we hold dear.
The IPCC report came, that's the International Panel on Climate Change, I don't know, 2018 or something like that, which basically said the writing's on the wall. And subsequent reports have just sort of said the writing's really on the wall. And then, hey chaps, the writing really is on the wall.
You are the last best hope.
They give the UN a peer-reviewed / agreed view of what they think is going on. Almost every country is involved, sending scientists.
I don't think there are so many climate deniers anymore, but there is a section of our society that believes climate change isn't man-made. What would you say to those people?
I'd say they should look at peer-reviewed science.
We've come to the end of the road. The current PM used to be a lobbyist for Shell. Oil has just seeped itself into a whole society. There are 33 million people in Pakistan that flooded because the glaciers have melted. They've lost their homes. An area larger than the UK underwater.
This is a dire warning about the consequences of our actions and how nature responds to increasing climate risks.
We can't stand by. We're not going to sit in a corner and wait to die.
And we have targets on it, 45% CO2 cut within the next 7 years. We're going completely the wrong direction and only 7 years to put it right. And to have governments and individuals and corporations taking action that contradicts those aims, like the proposal to frack in the UK or to sell more oil and gas licenses.
We ask you to protect it, or we and all living things we cherish are history.
I call it treachery to your planet.
So having looked at the reactions on social media about the two who throw the soup on the painting, they seem they seem to be really unpopular. They've thrown soup on paintings, they've glued themselves to the road, they've blocked the M25 at the moment.
Yes.
What do you think of this action?
It's unfortunate because I think a lot of people agree with their cause, but I think the way they're going about it is wrong.
Really unpopular. People hate them. People want them strung up, imprisoned. They call them all the names under the sun. They're giving the same message as national treasure, David Attenborough.
Why'd you put it in air quotes?
People love David Attenborough. You can't say a bad word about him. I must admit, I love him. Why do we love him? We hate them. They're different sides of the same coin. David Attenborough, he's been around. He's been filming for 60, 70 years, something like that. And he's got a warm, soft, soothing voice, and he pets animals. And he still puts the blame on big corporations. We don't agree with throwing soup. I can see their point, but I don't think the message landed well with that one. I needed to speak to the public to see how well the message was getting through. I've seen this one. You've seen this one? Do you think it's working? Do you agree with their cause, with their approach? What's your...
Yeah, well, yeah, you're asking me now. Am I on camera now then?
What are they trying to get across to us?
Why? No, I don't know nothing about them.
No?
No. What they do? Turn on?
No, this was in London. That's a National Gallery. That's a Van Gogh. They threw soup over it.
Nah, see, I don't get involved in all that.
Millie's much calmer than other dogs, aren't you?
She's a little bit worried about everything.
Aren't we all, Millie? Aren't we all? I mean, that's the first person I've met that says, no, I don't know anything about it. I mean, how can you avoid this? He's aware of the climate crisis, but he's not aware of activists doing something about it. I suppose it's before lunchtime. He's having a drink and a spliff on Margate Beach. Are you aware of this?
No, not Scooby.
You've not seen it on the news, on social media?
No. Oh, hang on. Is it the people that glue their hand to the ground in? Is this the... Yes, no, I do know. Yes, no, yeah.
Why are they doing it?
I don't actually know. I assume it's some sort of protest, but other than that, not Scooby.
There's some sort of protest. You're aware of the activism?
Yeah.
Do you know why they're doing it?
I guess it's to make people more aware of stopping using so many oil products, or I'm not really 100% sure, if I'm honest.
No?
No.
What's the message they're trying to get across here?
I mean, obviously, from my opinion, they're about a greener planet. So, just stop oil.
So they're gluing themselves to roads and they're throwing soup over paintings, but somewhere the message is getting lost as to what they exactly want from this. I'm going up to London. I'd like to speak to, if possible, speak to the people who are taking the action. You have soup on the table here as paperweights.
They work as paperweights, but they've been very effective. You're talking about the Picasso.
He definitely means Van Gogh. Just Stop Oil are known for offering public services whether society wants them to or not. Such generous actions include providing free traffic calming measures on the busiest motorway in the UK.
I'm expecting the police to arrive soon. Oh, here they are.
This is going to cause a lot of hate, and that's warranted.
Redecorating London with on-brand orange paint.
Nobody is listening to us.
Shutting Dartford Bridge to keep people from Essex out of Kent.
All new oil and gas projects need to be stopped immediately.
Shouting at smartphones.
I'm here because I don't have a future.
Making a sticky contribution to the art world. And leaving their superglued skin cells on a wide array of stuff.
Well, let's hope it changes something. The government's got to wake up to what's going on.
Are the public on their side?
The thing is, they aren't. Only 8% of people sympathise with the protesters. With such little support from the public, it makes me wonder why they don't change their tactics or give up altogether.
Join us in peaceful rebellion.
Hi, this is my sister Laura. She recently was arrested for spraying New Scotland Yard.
We are innocent until proven guilty. Joshua Smith is in prison for 7 months for peacefully protesting against his corrupt government and corporation.
Obviously your t-shirt says, so for my son.
For my son, yeah. So I'm here fighting for my son's future.
I'm Jane. I'm 56. I'm visually impaired and I'm scared of heights. And I'm here between junction 10 and 11 of the M25 on a gantry, and I'm terrified. So why am I doing this?
Nearly all the protests I can think of are there for the public good. We are protesting because something is so bad, it's driving us to behave in a way that is unusual. We were abandoning our normal modes of behaviour. That's the question we want to be raised through these protests, through gluing on the roads or locking on the railings of Parliament, whatever it might be.
I'm here because of the climate crisis, and our government isn't doing anything about it.
The direct action that we take, always non-violent. Violence, if you use violence, you have lost. End of story. But older people, we recognise we have a tremendous power because it's so unusual for people like us to take this sort of action. It's unusual for old chaps like me to glue themselves to the road or lock themselves to a railing. You assume it's going to be young people, and the fact that it is older people like myself, this is particularly the case for Extinction Rebellion, was really an important part of that movement. So this raises the question, this is crucial, why are people, middle class, decently law-abiding citizens, why are they doing this? And it's for the reasons I've described, because we are going to hell in a handcart.
For political change, we're going to need a societal change. And you need enough people on board. Do you think you need to be more popular to get more public on your side to make more change?
No.
Blocking the M25, we're going for that one. You don't like it?
I just don't see what it's achieving, to be honest.
So, is your support building, do you think?
I hope so, yes. I mean...
Is it building here? Are people joining you?
People are joining us. Every day we're getting bigger and larger.
It'd be nice to be praised by everybody, but you can't be. The important thing that Extinction Rebellion recognise, and Greenpeace recognise too, you don't need everybody to be on your side. We're not courting praise, it'd be nice, but we're not trying to win hearts and minds as much as we are trying to make change.
What I feel very strongly about is I hear time and time again that people agree with they agree with our message, they just don't like our methods. But if a fraction of those people come to join us on the streets, we wouldn't need those methods.
The amount of traffic that's had to divert big distances to avoid them by pre-planning their journeys, it's just daft. It's just daft. There's ways of making a protest, and that ain't one of them.
What would you rather they did? Have you got any ideas for them?
There's a system that exists. You know, we used to go and stand in Speaker's Corner and things like that and make protests, and that's what we should still be doing. We shouldn't be doing it by inconveniencing all of society.
We don't know what else to do, but we've tried the petitions, we've tried the emails, we've tried sitting outside Downing Street. Nothing works. So
I think they've crossed that fine line now. There's a lot of people that are quite angry about what they've done.
People seem quite angry with this.
Yeah, I can understand that. We are causing massive disruption, and it is justifiable that people are angry and they're frustrated. But they must understand, we will stop our actions immediately as soon as the government comes out and makes a meaningful statement that will end fossil fuels.
So all the organisations I work for recognise that the urgency of the situation is so that we don't give too much of a damn if people like us or not. People can thank us afterwards when they see that now their kids have a future. Yeah, I understand throwing a can of soup over a picture. I didn't like that action very much, although I believe the picture is glass fronted. But it's drawing attention. It's setting up this tension. Why on earth are they doing this? Why on earth are they gluing themselves to the M25? Why on earth are they shutting down Parliament Square and not letting people get through for a week or more? What is the point of that?
What's more beautiful? A painting of sunflowers or actual sunflowers, because we're in danger of losing them. If all we have left is paintings, photographs and memories of sunflowers, that might mean that painting is more valuable than it is today, but because of that action, people around the world are talking about the climate emergency. So it's a fully justifiable, and it was a brilliant action, and it's fantastic that it happened, in my opinion.
When somebody says, your actions piss people off, well, personally, I don't care, and I don't think the movement cares. What has happened since 2018 is we've moved the window. We are talking about it. Newspapers are publishing stuff on the climate. It's in the public agenda. It wasn't. And it's important for everyone to remember that we call it climate change, but we're heading for climate collapse.
I've spoken to John and he said they don't need all of the people. They only need a few, and they seem to be focusing purely on the government. That if they can influence Parliament, they can put things in place that's going to save us. But I still can't help but feel they need the support of the public.
All right, one day, great, you know, but then it went on for 2 days, didn't it?
There was a few days worth, wasn't there?
Exactly the same thing the next day, you know, and you think, oh, you selfish gits, you know what I mean?
Is this working? They've likened themselves to the suffragettes, to Martin Luther King, to Gandhi.
I don't think they have the backing.
They're causing a nuisance. I've got to get to work, family to pay for. I'm losing money. All the time they're causing delays.
Can you sympathise with them at all, or...?
No.
No?
No, not at all.
This is affecting my business, going up and coming back to London to do deliveries. What are they going to change? Nothing. Why aren't they at work today?
You don't think it's working? You don't think the action's going to work?
It can make it worse. People are going to go against it.
As someone who has family all around and works and needs a car to get around, when these things happen, they're only really upsetting people who have really no ability to make a change or a difference necessarily.
What would you rather they did?
Nothing. The guy on telly this morning was a moron.
Who was on telly this morning?
Very good morning to you both. Thank you for coming in.
Look, I'm a bloke from Essex. I've worked in construction my whole life.
He was absolutely stupid. He should go and get a proper job. He reckons he was a construction worker. I don't know what he constructions. Lego, I reckon.
Yeah, you're right. That is the busiest bridge in the whole of the country, isn't it?
Yeah.
They totally fucked it up.
In many ways, activism is under the umbrella of education. It exists to convince and bring about awareness. In my quest for answers on how best to educate and inspire, I seek counsel with the two best educators I know.
You know, people genuinely are wanting to get to work and they're getting stopped from going to work, or they're genuinely wanting to think of other stuff and they're being forced to think about climate change and our use of resources, our overuse.
So do you think the activism is justified?
I think they justify it well.
I've got work to do.
I understand that, sir. We're really sorry that you've been caught up in this situation.
And I think they've made some people on the edges of deciding, which side to go on. I think they've knocked some people over, as is in all activism. You don't change the world, you just change a few on the edge.
They have this philosophy that if you mobilize, I think 3% of the population, that's the tipping point. Then you've certainly got change happening. It triggers off lots of other stuff.
Harvard political scientist Erica Chenoweth found that non-violent protests are twice as likely to succeed as armed conflicts, and those engaging in a threshold of 3.5% of the population have never failed to garner change. I can't help but think if they were more popular with the public, the government would take more notice of more people. Do you think they need numbers, or...?
Well, they do need numbers. I think they need a shift in public opinion.
Fucking dibs! Have some respect for other people, not just yourself, yeah? There's other people that need to get places.
Pathetic. Go to Parliament. Go to Westminster.
So it's not about being liked by anyone. The people really fed up of the suffragettes, people didn't like Gandhi, people didn't like Nelson Mandela. I mean, Nelson Mandela is a good case in point. He was considered a terrorist until he became a hero.
This is what disobedience looks like.
It's not so much about whether you are liked or not, because these groups, I think, when they're coming up with a strategy of how to get what they want, they're not thinking about how to get it done in the most popular way. They're looking at the most effective way.
Could being popular be the most effective way?
So the problem with that is that you're going against the grain. The whole world is talking about endless economic growth, consumption, living in a throwaway society, going on holidays, using flights, doing all of that. You're going against the grain and you're telling people not to do all of this. You're telling people it's not a good idea. If you're pointing out to people that our whole way of living, the way we've structured society is not sustainable, that's not going to be a popular view.
Let's take a leaflet about the climate emergency.
And we've seen with the environmental movement, it's been going on for decades now, and still the conversion rate is very slow.
I'd like to get across the message that we need to do something about climate change.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you, how can we get that message across to as many people as possible?
Yeah.
A positive message.
Well, for me, it's education. I think the only opportunity you get to meet the whole gamut of a population, from the most liberal to the most conservative, from the richest to the poorest, to the most academic to the least academic, you've got them all in a school. You know, even if it's just recycling in the classroom, they can learn that. And that they go out at age of 11 or age of 16 into the world, at least having experienced in the false utopia of a classroom, then the chances are that many of them will take that on into life. Kids, even as young as 4 and 5, actually get these big issues. They understand about the implications of climate change, and they you know, they are hopeful.
Are you personally hopeful about the future?
Less.
Less than a 4-year-old. Yes. Politicians have to act on numbers. The bigger the number, the more action they're going to take. If they're more popular, of course, politicians have to take more notice. Say a group like Greenpeace seem a lot more popular than Extinction Rebellion, for instance. But yet, if the same people could be in both groups.
Now, what Extinction Rebellion did, and since then Stop Oil and Insulate Britain have done, is that there was a moment a few years ago when a lot of activists who'd been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years realized it just wasn't working. They could get out and march in their millions and they'd just be ignored. When the Iraq War happened, 15, 17, 20 million people marched all over the world. It was ignored. So activists started thinking, I think at that point, that the old ways of working isn't working anymore. So what do? We need to radically change. We need to do something more urgent because of the urgency of the problem.
They don't have to be sat in the road, blocking it. Bad things are going to happen because of it. They feel like they have to do it. And I think they've explored other avenues. That's the issue. They've been campaigning for years. They've sent letters. They've used words, but it hasn't got anywhere.
And when you talk about direct action, if you're going to talk about non-violent direct action, you don't have that many options. You know, you look at Gandhi, you look at Martin Luther King, you don't have a huge number of options. It's disrupting traffic, disrupting flows of people, stopping goods getting from one place to another, going on massive marches. These are your basic tools.
It is a desperate situation without question. It does need courageous people to throw themselves under horses to get the vote. And I know change has happened by people being prepared to die, being prepared to be unpopular, being prepared to be in prison.
The activists I've spoken to have sort of taken the opinion that it's a top-down sort of, the people in power have to act. And in a way that sort of took a bit of the responsibility off. A lot of the activists I've spoken to have been doing this for decades. Things have changed, but for the worse. Things are actually getting worse. We've known about this for years. And all the time we're spending money on their oil and they're running our lives. The people in power just aren't just going to give it up. So maybe we do have to take it. That's what maybe activism is that.
Will there be a revolution?
I suppose what I'm talking about is a revolution. We would need a revolution. If people want to take power, it would amount as a revolution. I don't mean sort of taking up arms. I think we'd need to...
No guillotines then?
Well, I wouldn't say no guillotines. It is bleak because it's humanity's future on the line. And if we can't just make little changes, then what's going on? I do understand why they do it. I don't think it's anything that I could ever do. Climate emergency. Take a little leaflet and have a look. No? There's a climate emergency. Is failure better than apathy? Of course it is. It must be.
James.
James and Mark. Nice to meet you. Saying that, we've got to look at a different perspective. You've got to think of the context here. For people who they're inconveniencing, If nothing happens and they've been inconvenienced, then for them it's a royal waste of time, and they're going to be pretty angry at the end of it.
They already are.
If nothing, well, they're angry now, but imagine if nothing happens. All this has been for nothing.
No snowflake in an avalanche ever thinks that it's responsible, but collectively we are.
Come on, mate. No?
We have a duty to our children.
Can I give you that one, please, mate?
M25, back up.
Rude.
If we don't do anything about it, the cost is going to be everything. And the thing about renewable energy is we know now how it works, we know what it can do. Life could be a lot better.
Can I give you this to read about the climate emergency?
Oh.
This is within our grasp. We just have to grasp it.
I'm often asked, if I was in a car and my daughter was ill in the back and my daughter was dying and they blocked the road, wouldn't I be angry? Honestly, I really would. I really would.
You'd want to kill him?
Yeah, I would, but I don't know. You've got to look at the bigger picture, haven't you? And I personally couldn't.
Can I give you one of these, buddy? Nice one, mate. Loving this.
Unfortunately, what isn't incredibly exciting is the governments of the world today who are just simply not saying, right guys, we need to move on.
Those people who did not support the war effort were called traitors. It's not a nice word, and I'm very choosy how I use it. But those people who do not take action or support action to save our planet, the one planet that we have, are traitors to their species. They are traitors to their planet. They're traitors to their children, and they should be ashamed of themselves.
Yes, other people agree with you, but you're causing an inconvenience to the public, and it's not right.
I would not for a minute suggest that they should be treated the way we treat the conventional view of a traitor. Not at all. They just need to change. They just need to realise our future, your future, their children's future, everything is at stake here, and we are completely fucking it up.
So the final question we're now left with is, who's going to stop first? The activists or the oil companies? And at the end of the day, the deciding factor, it could be your action or your apathy. Nailed it. Can't wait for my BAFTA. Louis the Who?
You're an idiot.
End of days, the darkening ways we have to carry on. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Anyone in the darkness? I shall not cease from mental fight, nor shall peace slip through our tired hands while we are building Jerusalem. While we are building Jerusalem, while we are building with our tired hands, while we are building Jerusalem, while we are building Jerusalem, while we are building with our tired hands, while we are building Jerusalem, while we are building Jerusalem, while we are building Jerusalem, while we were building Jerusalem.
Wicked, thank you very much.
Brilliant.